Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So what we did yesterday was concept around self-acceptance. And if you have had attended, the last class, it was mostly about self-acceptance being a part of self-esteem. And under self-esteem, there are basically three areas, which is self-acceptance, self-identity, and self-confidence. So we did understand about self-acceptance. What came in yesterday about was body acceptance, mind acceptance, and sort of overall acceptance of what you think you are as an individual. And it leads to various aspects such as anxiety, or there were various things that we spoke about yesterday. Today, what we're going to be talking about is the self identity piece. Okay. And the self identity piece, I'm going to bring it in a very different context today. The context being of the environment of internet and social media, because we're all so much a part of it. And our identities are actually changing on a day-to-day basis, especially for adolescents, for younger adults, and of course adults in general, because every one of us is actually using social media in our own ways, especially people who are doing business online. You don't have to really say anything. You need to be there present. And how is it really affecting our identities, and what are we using this whole social media platform? Are we really using it to find our identities? What are those various aspects? So I'm bringing the angle of social media today in terms of self-identity, because that's becoming increasingly important. And in today's post-COVID world, or whatever, it's not post-COVID, COVID is still there, but in today's world of what we've gone through after the pandemic, right? So in fact, there is research. So if you look at what identity is, there are various aspects to it, and I'm sure you will agree, and you can definitely add points to this. If you feel there are certain things that are missed, you can always add to it. But as far as identity, self-identity is concerned, it could be the choices you make. It's like as simple as the dress that you select, the color of your choice, the values, of course. See, it could be aesthetic things. It could also be bigger things like values, beliefs, and even your appearance. How you identify yourself, how you want to identify yourself, how do you want people to be, people to see you. How do you want your appearance to be? Then of course ethnicity is there, practices, habits, work hobbies, friends, family, interests, objects, possessions. All of this actually marks our identity. Simple things that we wear or don't wear, might just let might give social messages to people. And the whole context of self-reliance, we need to remember, is around social context, because the definition itself is to voice one's opinion irrespective of social norms. So everything that we are talking about, whether it is self sufficiency, self trust, whether it is self awareness, self acceptance, or and today with whatever self that we're talking about, it is all around social context, because that's where we're getting to how are we going to be looking at ourselves, and therefore how can we actually maneuver ourselves with respect to the social setup around you, right? So all of these can be aspects of self identity, and you can add to this. And I'm sure there may be this ethnicity in terms of diversity, inclusion, all of that also comes into the self identity piece. Now, having spoken about this, and you can always look at the internet definition of it, Google definition, Google dictionary definition. Self-identity is, of course, a stable and coherent perception of oneself. How much do you stably sort of perceive about yourself? And what we're going to be, as I said, focusing on today is the study that researchers have been of late doing in different developmental environments. And today's sort of the most important developmental environment is that of the social media platform, or the internet environment. We are all there, and as I said in the beginning, how are we really, experimenting our self identities linked to, the internet environment, and so we're going to be dealing with this primarily today, while we understand what self-identity is. And it's very, very useful for us as a takeaway to both understand self and also probably adolescents, younger adults, and and of course adults in general, right? So having said that, the internet environment, this is something that I want to really emphasize. The internet environment has become an important developmental environment of adolescents and young adults and adults in general. So therefore, because, post the pandemic, grandparents, teachers, whoever it is, have started using internet extensively. So let's see where this is leading to, the self-identity and the internet environment, okay? So the influences of internet use on self-identity, one of the things that is coming out very, beautifully in this is actually pretending to be someone else when being online. This is one of the biggest aspects that we need to really understand. There are a lot of people, lot of individuals who are online, and people are pretending to be someone else when they are online, and they may be so there are people actually experimenting about their self identity using online, and there is research also to talk about this. So using internet to experiment with their own identity. So there are some people probably who and there is a lot of data sort of that researchers have brought into this to see how is it playing on a person's self identity, and how are they how is it linked to, say, an individual having a lot of friends offline, and how does this individual really uh, play it when you are online, and as opposed to, say, individuals who do not have too many friends offline, but have a lot of so-called Facebook friends and whatever friends online. So there was a study done in China and a few other places on this, on a large set of people, and the relationship between online identity experiments and self identity was moderated by the social tendency that you have online. Now you must be, you can type, what is your social tendency, what is your online social tendency? Do you understand what I'm saying? What is your online social tendency? We have a sort of a social tendency offline, right? Is it the same, whatever social tendency that you have offline, is it the same as the tendency that you have online? Yes, no, maybe. Do you understand the word social tendency? Right? So we are all trying to connect with people either offline or online. And nowadays it's a lot online. So you can either unmute and say, what is your social tendency in a word, max? Yes, no, maybe. I mean, how is it? What is your tendency in a word, maximum, a sentence? And or you can type it in there if you're uncomfortable unmuting. Unmuting and speaking, right? But there is a strong linkage to your social tendency online. And so finally, what's coming out is, I'm looking for some answers there of whatever that your social tendency is. You can either type it in there or you can unmute and let me know. So pretending to be someone else online and your social tendencies, right? So now when we're talking about this, what the internet scholars have found that online identity, for example, experimentation on social network sites, it many times significantly contributes to self-identity development. And a few others were also saying that there is no correlation between self-identity. So it's like, it's really 50-50. I mean, both of them are saying that there is significant identity and there isn't. But what we need to understand, influences of internet on self-identity is, online self-experiments may promote to the development of self-identity, definitely. And how is it promoting is that there could be certain aspects known as self-presentation and what do you call, honest self-presentation. So I will come to that. And the other thing is, when, so the correlation of when people had too many friends offline as opposed to lesser friends online and trying to make a social presence, there was actually a negative impact on self-identity. They did not really, this was what was the conclusive kind of a research that was said, that the impact was not extremely positive. Actually, there was negative impact on the self-identity. And even if otherwise, even if you had a lot of friends online and not so many friends offline, overall the impact on self-identity seemed to be negative. Okay. But so this whole pretension of pretending to be someone else online, um, overall we all understand, I think it's not rocket science, that there seems to be a negative impact on self identity while a person is trying to experiment, their self identity, how much of it, especially adolescents, especially younger adults and adults in general, trying to see what it takes to be online, right? So so one thing that's come out is, it is, when they're trying to be online, it is helping them boost their ego in some sense, and bridging the gap between their ideal self and true self. So it's like sort of, they're hide, they could be an ideal self, they could be a true self. So there's sort of, if you've not done certain things offline, you're using that to do certain things online, and you sort of bridge that gap. So there is a little bit of an ego kind of a booster that happens for people who probably are not a certain way, are not very social, offline, can tend to be seeming very social online, because they're trying to bridge that gap of what they truly are and what they want to be. And so these are certain things that certain the research elements are coming out. But primarily, broadly, there are these two aspects: pretending to be someone else online and self-presentation. So these are the two broad elements that are coming out in the influences of internet use on self-identity. And pretending to be someone else online generally has a negative impact on self-identity, while they are trying to bridge the gap between what they truly are and what they truly want. So overall, there is a negative impact, but there are some people who are compulsively trying to use, especially adolescents, right? And the teenagers who are so compulsively sort of using internet. It played a role in mediating, the aspect of ego, or self-identity. It's not had a negative impact, but it is sort of mediating role between online identity experiment and self-identity. So, the number of likes or whatever, all these things are also a sort of an aspect to this. But compulsive internet usage also played a completely mediating role, or an aiding role to the aspect of self-identity. Now, having said this, so what we need to be mindful of is, there is, in pretending to be someone else online, there is your own social tendency and the number of friends that you have, all of that. So if you look at it, there is, what is expected is a moderate online identity that you can do, rather than either trying to bridge the gap, or so if you have a moderate online identity experiment that you want to do, that's like sort of positively associated with self-identity, and it seems to be something that will aid you also as an individual. But pretending to be someone else online is more likely to lead to negative effects on self-identity development. Okay, so this is Of course, certain research that is done, this is what I wanted to share as a self-identity experiment. What was interesting though was on self-presentation. Okay, what is interesting is on self-presentation, and self-presentation, uh, either presenting oneself or presenting oneself honest. So there were two aspects: either you're honestly presenting oneself or just presenting oneself. Both of it had a positive impact on self-identity. So in fact, today's assignment is something to do with, presentation, self-presentation, because it has a social impact in today's world. Self-presentation online has a social impact in today's world. And the good thing is the research is also saying that it has a positive uh, impact. The self-identity has a positive impact. So positive and honest self-presentation has a positive impact on self-identity. So basically what we're saying is you need to be genuine in your presentation when you're, even when you're going online. It's as simple as that. And so I mean that's something that I wanted to bring together for us to understand in this whole self-identity aspect of it. So pretending and to be someone else online, if if that is something that we are into, and if we are not able to genuinely present ourselves online, then it has an impact on self-identity there too. So you might think that you're pretending like someone else and people don't know, but it has an impact at an individual level. It has a negative impact on your self-identity. So this is what I wanted to bring it together. And if you have, so let's move into today's affirmation and assignment. As affirmation and assignment is very, very simple. We will say it together. The assignment is more to do an honest self-presentation on the social media platform. Why social media platform? Is because today's developmental, it is very, it's one of the developmental environments that we need to exist in. So it's no, it's actually has become a part of your existential world. So we need to realize and make whatever little impact that we can in the social media platform. So so because see, this will also help to increase, it will be a step towards our self-confidence, which is what is the next topic. And it's all linked to self-esteem. So in self-esteem, you have self-acceptance, you have identity and self-confidence. So tomorrow, or rather the next class, I will be taking self-confidence. So if we do an honest self, because it has a positive impact on your self-identity, take that little step. If you have to write a blog, if you have to can send a video across, if you want to just make a statement or even comment on someone else's, it could be a mentor, it could be some quote that you see, even just commenting there, your presence and your participation in the social media platform becomes important for your self-identity overall in your growth. Okay, so that's your assignment, that do an honest self-presentation on the social media platform. Need not be something that you're leading or whatever it can be, even a small comment that you're doing for someone else's cause. What are your thoughts? What is it that you feel about it? You are, that actually tells people that okay, this person has an opinion, is listening, is participating, right? So this is something that you can do as an experiment, of self identity. And let's now together, the music part of it, there were some issues, sort of me using certain kind of music. So I'm like sort of in the process of downloading, non-copyrighted music. So that's why so I'm not doing the moves. But if you can still do the moves without the music, I'm more than okay with that. Just sing it in your mind and do it. I'm fine. Okay, so while we're doing that, I would like to read the quote of Ralph, which is also very beautiful. The soul raised over passion beholds identity and eternal causation. perceives the self-existence of truth and right, and calms itself with knowing that all things go well. Seems very complex. Just read it 2, 3 times. This is actually beyond what we did today. So it says if you're just so passionate, it goes beyond identity. You just are then are part of the world and perceives the self-existence of truth, right? So while it might seem very complex in its language, just if we actually read it 3, 4 times, you will understand it. Having said that, and if you want the guide, so I'm going to be giving the guide of like 23 very lovely quotes that I like of Ralph at the end of 21 days. So for all of those who have been attending it, yeah. So wonderful. So let's do the affirmation together. And it's very beautiful. It's okay if the identity I choose for myself in the past is not fitting whom I am or want to be anymore. Many times, as I told, I think it was a day 1, 2, or 3, one of those days, that what we are today must be very, very different from what we were, 10 years back and 20 years back, right? So the person I am today is not the same person I was 5 years ago. I want to be different now, and it's fine. So that's the identity that you want to create for yourself. You don't have to stick to what you were when you were 16-year-old. You obviously will change to a different person, 25, 30, 40, 50 years old. And let's choose that and live it, right? So let's look at saying this together. I'll go 3, 2, 1, and you can unmute, and please go ahead and let's all say this together. Yeah. Thank you so much, Anusha, for switching your video on and also for participating. Thank you for that smile. And here I go with the affirmation. Okay, so I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, and let's do this all together. Okay, there I go. 3, 2, 1.
It's okay if the identity I chose for myself in the past is not fitting whom I am or want to be anymore. The person I am today is not the same person I was 5 years ago.
Beautiful. I want us to do this together. Can we like do this together? So I will be also doing this with you. Let's do this again. And I'll go 3, 2, 1. Okay. There I go. 3, 2, 1. It's okay.
It's okay
The
if the identity I
choose for
choose for
myself
myself in
in
the
the
past
past
is not fitting whom I am
or
or
want
want
to
to
be
be
anymore.
anymore.
The
The
person I
person
am
I
today
am today
is not the same person I was 5 years
years
ago.
ago.
Wonderful. So lovely. Thank you so much, ladies, for attending these sessions. Please continue with your powerful note taking. Thank you so much, Aparna. I saw your lengthy ones today for each of those videos out there in the Self-Reliance Hub. Request each one of you to do that. Join. Some of you, I think, have not joined the Telegram group or other places, but wherever you are, post in the notes. It really, see, it's actually not for yourself, it's also for others. When they see it, they'll also learn from it. I learn from the notes that you have taken. In fact, Aparna's had put certain sharing of what she had gone through in her life. And thank you so much for that. Continue with this and being open, frank, and sharing your notes. Powerful note taking, it is. So let's conclude with saying powerful note taking. Thank you so much. And we meet tomorrow again, 5 p.m. Bye-bye. Tomorrow's topic is self-confidence. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.